So what would you attribute your brand success over the past year or so? Obviously starting in kind of broadly and then going in more specific.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think the success just centers around a lot of things, Joanna, as we look at the craveability of our food. When we talk about the multi-channel approach to our business, and then when we talk about our culture and just committed team members, we have a very strong culture here at Portillo's with values that are family, greatness, energy, and fun. And then I think, right, we give the craveable food to our team members in just a fantastic experience, whether it's, again, that multi-channel approach inside of our restaurants. I just think we're a differentiated concept within the restaurant industry. And I think that really stood out in 2020. When you see our results, we were able to grow our EBITDA by over 10%, despite our sales being down, our revenues down 5%. So I think all those things come together and just create what I believe is a magical brand.
Mm-hmm. And I think I'm pretty impressed that you guys have seen kind of major growth from even pre-pandemic levels. So what would you say kind of how did you do that, I guess, kind of grow from 2019 levels?
Yeah, I come back again to taking care of our team members. So I mentioned, even though our revenues were down, we were able to mitigate that because that multi-channel approach. So we were able to shift a lot of volume to our drive-thrus and to our off-prem business, whether it was the drive-thrus or delivery or curbside. We actually started to pilot our own self-delivery. But I come back to culture because I think this is the reason why we were able to grow our EBITDA, because we took care of our people and our people took care of us and took care of our guests. So as you think about that, we didn't lay off or furlough a single team member during COVID, not one. And so we gave 100% meal discounts. We paid bonuses that weren't earned. We started a not-for-profit called the Heart of Portillo's, a fund that takes care of our team members. And what we saw, Joanna, was our team members took care of us. They were more productive than ever in 2020. And we track that through a metric called items per labor hour. So it's an efficiency metric that we track, and they were just, again, more productive than they ever were. And it's why we were able to grow EBITDA and see that margin expansion. And we're seeing some stickiness to that in 21. It's, we knew, dining rooms would open back up. We're naturally going to have to put more labor into the restaurants, but our team members continue to be more efficient than they were in 19, 18, et cetera. So I come back, I think for us, it comes back to people and culture. And we definitely believe that if we take care of our team will take care of our guests. And that's what creates, I think, the volumes that you see in our restaurants and why people keep coming back.
It's the circle of hospitality.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's so important, especially since the number one complaint of the restaurant industry, or the number one hurdle of the restaurant industry lately, has been labor. And I think that kind of Portillo's focusing on its people first probably gives you guys an edge in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't pay minimum wage in any of our markets. And so, but we're not immune, right, to the labor pressures that everyone's seeing. And so, we've seen some labor rate increases this year. But it comes back to what we're talking about. It's taking care of our people. And, we've seen a little bit of staffing challenges, but what I'd say is, we're pretty close to being 94, 95% staffed, and it hasn't impacted our ability to operate. So we're not, closing dining rooms. We're not limiting hours, in large quantities in our restaurants. We're able to function the way Portillo should function. And so I think that has helped us. And I think in that war on talent, we're able to compete. And again, that values-based hiring, that people-centered culture, I think is the reason why people want to join Portillo's and continue to work for us.
And I think the thing for me, the thing that really stands out about Portillo's is that, we hear so much from some of the largest chains in the country about how much they're investing in off-premise, from new store prototypes to trying in-house delivery, and just investing a lot in digital and technology infrastructure. And you guys are doing that at a much smaller level, and I just think that's so impressive. Do you think that's a key differentiator for you guys?
Absolutely. So we're about 20% digital orders today, Joanna, and you know this, right? You cover the restaurant industry. Everyone's talking digital, digital this, look at my digital growth, et cetera. The people that are talking about that don't have the drive-through capabilities that Portillo's has, which is a true differentiator for us when you think about a fast casual concept. And so we, if you think about where we're at today, we're at about 30% dine-in today. And pre-pandemic, we were over 50% dine-in. So we were able to shift all of the business essentially to those off-prem channels. And it wasn't like we were scrambling and having to do those things. We started delivery in 2017, so we already had that capability. We have the drive-throughs, and we implemented a curbside program in 2020. And as I mentioned before, we started to pilot our own self-delivery program. Think about it as us taking more of those larger catering type orders. And so I do think that multi-channel approach, particularly within fast casual, is definitely a differentiator for Portillo's. And it's the reason why we were able to perform the way we did during 2020. And I think absolutely you see it in the results.
And why do you think you were able to pivot so well to off-premise channels?
Because that's who we were, right? That's who we were. And we're there to create that frictionless guest experience. And so if you think about that, we already have double drive-throughs in virtually all of our restaurants. We already had delivery capabilities set up. And so those channels were already there for Portillo's, and the dine-in business essentially just shifted to those channels. Now, as dine-in has come back, right, I think it's been a little slower to come back than what anyone would have thought, because we're at about 30% right now dine-in. I don't think we're ever going to get back up to 50%, but I do think that that's still a tailwind for us, as people continue today to be a little bit hesitant to come out with Delta variant. In Chicago, we're still under a mask mandate where we have to mask up inside. So I think there's still a little bit of worry out there. And so I look at that as a tailwind for us in the future, as I do think dine-in will continue to grow, but I don't think it'll get up to the 50% level we were at before. But that's okay.
And how have you approached as a brand some of the challenges that can come with going all in on digital?
I think we have fantastic digital capabilities. So we partner with OLO, and Noah Glass, who's the CEO of OLO, is on our board. And so we love having Noah on our board, Joanna, because he helps guide us to what is best in class in digital. We have a very robust mobile app. We have very robust online ordering capabilities. So if you went to order from us through whatever channel you want to, you would have a fantastic experience. And we're right there with any QSR fast casual in terms of our online ordering capabilities and our digital experience. We'll continue again to look at ways to enhance that, but it's very robust today. And again, I come back to that frictionless guest experience. We want to be there for wherever the guest wants to be met. But I will say this, I do believe that the best way to access our brand is through our drive-throughs. You get your food hot, fast, fresh, made to order, and it's at the best price point. And when you start to think about those digital channels, right, third-party delivery we know is going to have a 30 to 40% premium. Even some other concepts are starting to charge a premium on their own delivery channels, digital channels. And so I still come back to that being a differentiator for Portillo's, having that drive-through. And as customers might become more price sensitive, we're there, right? And we'll have those capabilities for them. That's still off-prem.
Well, it's coming full circle for me because I literally just got off the phone with Noah. So
nice. Yeah, we love having him as a partner.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned that your drive-through channel is and has always been so important for you. How has that evolved? I know that you have an upcoming new drive-through format coming out.
Yeah, no, we're piloting a couple things, Joanna, and I think we're going to get some learnings from that. So the first is in the first quarter of 22, we're going to open up a drive-through only concept in Joliet, Illinois. And part of what we're doing there is we're relieving some pressure from a restaurant that's nearby And we think that this could be a good opportunity to consider a fortressing strategy or an infill strategy within certain markets like Chicagoland. And so that drive-through only concept is going to have 3 lanes, and we're going to see how that performs. And again, it's not going to have dine-in, but it's going to have all the off-prem business capabilities within that. So that's going to be a cool thing that we're going to see coming in the next year. And then the second thing that we're doing is we're opening up a restaurant in Madison, Wisconsin, our second there in about a month. And we're adding a 3rd lane to that restaurant. So think about it like a fast pass lane. So if you order online, you can kind of skip the drive-through line. You don't have to go inside the restaurant, and you can go into that 3rd lane, fast pass lane, to pick up your digital order. So we're going to pilot that. We're going to test that, see how that performs. And then we'll go from there and determine if that's going to be a good strategy for us moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that's something that you guys experimented with, I believe it was last year, was launching an in-house delivery team. Do you still have that in the works, or?
We do. We are still doing some self-delivery for larger orders that are generally over $100. We're delivering ourselves. And more recently, we're looking at what I would call a driver pooling type concept, where we have a concentration of stores, and we might have one driver that covers multiple stores that'll do delivery for multiple stores. So then you don't have a dedicated driver at each one of those restaurants. So we're thinking through some things like that, but yes, we still are doing that self-delivery program.
And what have you learned from doing that?
I think it's sort of, we're being offensive and defensive, right? We know that the third party delivery folks don't have our best interests in mind. I like to call them frenemies, right? We know that we know they're trying to get data, and the goal is, right, to get customers on their platform. And so part of that is to prove to ourselves that we can do that, that we have the capability to do that. If and when it gets to a point where we feel like we're getting squeezed too much, or our customers are getting squeezed too much, that we know that we have that capability to do that. And so I think that first and foremost is the most important learning, that we can check that box and say, yeah, absolutely, that we can do that. And second is, for those larger orders, which is really like a catering order, we want to make sure that our guests get the best experience. And so we've gotten really good feedback from that aspect of it as well.
Mm-hmm. And something that I'm sure you're aware of with partnering with your frenemies there is the challenge of kind of dealing with, obviously it's a lot easier to not and more cost effective to not do this yourself all the time, but at the same time it's better to also have that customer data at your fingertips.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more, we're in early stages of gathering customer data, right? We don't have a loyalty program that is, typical in bigger restaurants. We do have what we call, it's sort of a little fun thing. We do a birthday club where we're able to collect data from customers. And, so we're thinking through that moving forward. I think as we think through that and how we can collect more customer data, I think it won't be necessarily through a traditional loyalty program, but more, if we can get people into a loyalty program, but give them a different experience, right, versus giving away food. I think that's something we're going to explore and look into in the future. And that'll help us get more insights into, the consumers. And I think that will be good for us.
We look forward to hearing more about that in the future. And speaking of the future, how will the upcoming IPO change or evolve your strategy as a brand?
It won't at all. We are going to continue to focus on the long-term growth strategies of this company. And this is just, one stop in our journey. And so as I think about, we're going to move forward and build restaurants and continue to grow and expand this brand. And we think we're a nationwide concept today, but we're going to introduce this brand to many more markets in the future. And we're not going to change what we're doing. We know that we have craveable food. We know we provided an engaging atmosphere, and we know we have a strong culture of awesome, dedicated team members. That's not going to change.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that the IPO will provide kind of more resources available to you as you look to continue on your expansion path?
I think it's going to provide more exposure, but we have all the resources that we need. We have plenty of cash to build the restaurants we want to build, do the things that we want to do, make the investments that we want to make. I think, again, the IPO gives us the opportunity to have more exposure out there to the world, to our brand. And that's a good thing, but it's definitely not going to, be the source of the resources that we need. The business generates plenty of free cash to give us all the resources that we need to continue to grow and build our new restaurants. And so that's exciting. I think, we're in early stages. Despite us being a 58-year-old brand, we're in very early stages of our growth, which is super exciting.
And how would you describe that growth trajectory?
I think, as you may have read, we're going to grow at 10% plus new restaurants a year. And so we think that's a good conservative growth number for us. And as I mentioned before, cash is not a gating factor. We have plenty of sites and real estate available for us. That's not a gating factor. The only gating factor for us is people. So we are committed to not opening up Portillo's unless we have an experienced general manager running that restaurant. And so we have developed over the last 18 to 24 months a robust people pipeline where for every manager, assistant general manager, and even at the crew chief, which is the highest hourly level in our restaurants, we know what their development plan is, and we work with them on training to fill in those gaps. And so as we open up new restaurants, we're targeting 7 new restaurants in 2022, 9 in 2023. I can look you in the eye and tell you for the 7 in 22 and for the 9 in 23, we know the GMs that are going into those restaurants. And so as we continue to build out that pipeline, we can dial up growth, but we're not going to do it unless the people capabilities are there.
You want to do it in a smart way.
Absolutely. We want to de-risk the investments. We know that, the amount that we're building a year is not hundreds of new restaurants. And we know our restaurants cost between $4.5, $5 million to build. That by doing this, we de-risk the openings of these restaurants. And we've never closed a restaurant in our 58-year history. And we plan to continue that for many, many years to come. We don't plan to close any in the future. So I think it's that stat, Joanna, speaks to the strength of the brand.